think there were some great questions from the floor, and indeed the Twitter sphere, as it were, is alive and well after this morning's event. So it really created some great conversation. I think it's very important. Businesses need to have a return on investment, or return on engagement, or whatever you want to call it. And I think there's some really good discussions that I think we need to continue to build out online.
We just had the most incredible panel discussion, and there are a number of themes that I think were really interesting to me. One of them was actually interesting in a scary way, which is actually how hard it is to have a conversation about how to change people's behaviour. And we ended up quite often in the conversation talking about social media and engagement with consumers and customers. Well, we kind of know that needs to happen, and we kind of know how to do it. And we've got to move the conversation on. So I'm slightly wary that if we're going to be successful in what we're doing, we've got to get to how are we going to change the world in what's going on.
The big opportunity for social business that I can see is that people can start to respond and contribute in new ways, and that we can really think again about the role and the relationship of the employee to the user, to the stakeholder, and how all of those things can become much more synthesised. It's a different way of looking at what an organisation is and what a brand is, and it's up for grabs, and it can be very, very value generating for everybody involved.
One of the most exciting areas for any business now is in how they develop and integrate digital as a fundamental part of what they do within their business. That doesn't mean just applying digital technologies, channels and processes to what they do. It's about how they fundamentally evolve or indeed even revolutionise the whole way in which they do business, using digital as a prime driver and as a prime mover. Businesses that understand that and integrate mobile and digital technologies in particular will be more successful than those that don't.
We've missed a step here because in the Far East and in Africa, people have gone straight to mobile and are very au fait with it. And I would say that if you're putting a business together and a presence together, especially a social footprint these days, if you do one thing, make sure it reads on a mobile device.
So I think there's a phenomenal opportunity for organisations to just take stock of the situation that they're currently in. You know, we only have to look at the high street and see what happens when you don't take stock. So maybe we take that time, think about those new things that we ought to be doing.
We talked a lot about trust, which I thought was just brilliant. Trust not just about customers trusting brands or organisations, but equally employers trusting employees. I thought that was really, really powerful. So, you know, for me, it nets out in one place, which is this is as much about people as it is about process.
Trust, transparency, and also authenticity are key facets to any modern business. Businesses can no longer rely on the fact that they own total control over the businesses and how they communicate. Their customers now also have a fairly major stake in what they do and how they do it and how they communicate. That means that every business and every business owner and the people within those businesses needs to be trustworthy and need to be transparent so that customers can understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they should be doing business with that particular organisation.
What we're seeing with Yammer is that lots of organisations are actually breaking down silos and breaking down hierarchies within them. And one of the things that certainly emerged from today is that a culture of trust and openness is definitely something that we need to make a shift towards. So we're not all there yet.
Businesses that are willing to embrace social business as a as a process, as a technology, as channels within what they do, are really going to reap the rewards and the benefits of developing real, proper, deep, meaningful relationships with their customers and with their client bases. A business that doesn't adopt a social business attitude towards what it does is at risk of alienating and even losing its customer base to its competitors that do.
If you are involved in a level of business and you actually invest in relationships with your customers and in an ongoing basis, and you have transparency, and your business model is something that people are interested in and enjoy interacting with, if you decide that you can also do something else really well, it's just so easy to take it to the marketplace.
So externally, I think companies certainly like mine and many others have got to learn how to engage customers, partners, you know, suppliers, whatever you want, you know, all that whole range of social communications has got to be engaged in a different way. But the internal side, I think, is just important. You know, what would traditionally be called HR, and how they use that to manage, you know, I guess, social trends in the company, how people connect with each other, how they feed back on what's good, bad and ugly about the business and how we respond to it. And one of the words that came out in the debate this morning, which I thought struck a chord, was authenticity, being authentic. And that's not just about to customers and your brand and your product, but it's about how you behave with your people and your staff. So yeah, I think there's some really interesting trends, and the whole concept of business reimagined is thinking about what those things do to the business, good and bad, and what are the positives of that, and how can you really drive the business in a different direction by using the power of that and the power of the people and the kind of social connections that people have.